Hello and welcome, everybody. We are live. Welcome to everyone that is joining us live. Also to all of you that are going to be watching the replay. I am your host, Rebecca Radice. And today we're talking about how financial aid works, everything you need to know. And I am here joined once again with the team from Inversant. And today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Exelon. So thank you so much to Exelon. And again, thanks to all of you. We would love to know, where are you joining us from? We're all remote. I am here in Los Angeles. I wish I could say it was sunny Los Angeles today, but we've been a little overcast. Everybody with Inversant is in the Boston area, but we do know that here on Facebook, we have friends from all over the globe. So drop in the comments where you're joining us from. We'd love to hear from you. Now let's switch real quick because we're going to move right into today's topic. And it's a super important one. Like I mentioned, we all know that getting into college and into your dream college, it's really competitive. But we also know it can be pretty costly. And as tuition rises, you need to know what your financial aid options are. And you need to know, without all of the confusing terms, all of that information that you can find out on Google that can be super, super confusing. And that is why we are all here today. We're going to talk about, and very excited to talk about, our brand new course, which is all about financial aid. So welcome, everybody. And Rochelle, I would love it if you would just kick us off. Everybody can kind of introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about the role you play at Inversant.
Sounds good. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Rochelle Aranis, and I am the Director of Programs at Inversant, and I am super happy to be here talking to you about this very important and timely topic.
Absolutely. Bianca, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Again, my name is Bianca Jimenez, and I am a program coordinator for the Boston programs here at Inversant. I'm super excited to be here as well because it is a timely matter and we're just in time to start talking about it.
Absolutely. And Yerlyn, you're here. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So I'm Yerlyn Isassis. I am the program manager for Chelsea Public Schools. And I am really happy to be here today and to share a lot more. What is it about Inversant's mission, which is help everybody to attain higher education.
Well, and all of you have been actively involved in the creation of this new course. I know it is deeply personal in terms of the content that you're bringing, and you've been knee deep in recording all of this content that we're going to be talking about today. And there is one really important question, but also a frequently asked question. And I want to start off with the biggest one that we hear an awful lot, Rochelle, and that is, why should I apply for financial aid? And then what does it actually cover? Can you kind of break that down for us?
Yeah, for sure. So I would say that the most straightforward answer to why I feel like every student should apply for financial aid, and in most cases, regardless of what their circumstances, is because we know that college is very expensive. Just taking a look at the average cost of attendance for a four-year private university here in the United States, it would cost you about $32,000. And when you're looking at a four-year public university, it would be kind of like around the average each year, about $24,000. And that's not even including things like room and board, which can even add much more money, $10,000 to $15,000 to that bill. So there's a lot of students, especially when they're thinking about, universities locally in Massachusetts. We have a lot of kids that do stay in state. And one of the popular universities that we see is BU, for example. And when it comes to not the average, but just like what it costs to go to BU for one year, it's about $77,000, the yearly cost of attendance of VU. And that does include things like tuition, room, and board and fees. So that would be the total cost. But it still sounds pretty scary when you're thinking about, wow, $77,000 to be able to go to a school, and that's only for 1 year. So that's the main reason why it is important to apply for financial aid, because this is basically the only way, or the best way, I would say, the best way to ensure that students do receive the discounts that are available for them, that can help them reduce that very scary sticker price or cost of attendance. And I would say, granted, financial aid does not cover the entire cost of attendance for everyone, but it is a pretty good start. Of course, there are other ways, and we talk about those ways in a lot of our workshops. We talk about those ways in our modules. But even when you're thinking about, okay, so, I'm going to apply for a scholarship, there's a lot of scholarship providers that do require students and applicants to apply and use the FAFSA before they're even considered. And then that is the same way that it works when you apply for big grants and big scholarships that come directly from the institutions that students are used to hearing about. The only way that you're going to be able to unlock those discounts and that big money is by applying for financial aid. So in our module, we do go over specific examples of basically what is financial aid, what it takes into the consideration when calculating what are the discounts and benefits that students could be eligible for, basically what are the differences between those discounts, because there are a lot of people who don't know how much money they are going to be awarded that is money that it's free money, or how much money it's going to be awarded that it's in loans and they have to pay back. And there's the majority of students that do apply for financial aid get a combination of those two types. So we just want to make sure that everybody is informed and aware of how that works. And ultimately, that everybody always starts by applying for financial aid.
Yeah, you touched on so many points within that, and just thinking about my personal experience. And there is that sticker shock as you start to look at those colleges that you've always thought, this is my dream school. And then you realize what it's actually going to cost you to attend. And so there's that overwhelm. And then there's the actual overwhelm of going through this whole financial process. And as we've all been working through this new course, which I'm glad that you mentioned the workshops. So you were doing so many workshops in a face-to-face environment. And of course, here we are in a pandemic. And you had to make some really significant shifts to enable everybody, all of our families, but more than that, anybody that wanted to learn about financial aid to be able to access these. And so it's exciting to me to see that so many of those feelings that I faced, you are tackling within this course. You put it into very bite-sized pieces where I can read through it. I can watch you as you go through this on video, and I can feel like, oh my gosh, I have a partner in this. I'm not alone. I'm not out here trying to figure all of this out. So, thank you, first of all, to all of you for the blood, sweat, and tears I know you're putting into this. But also thank you for just the hundreds and hundreds of hours that you've put from your background, your expertise into this content so that people can navigate, they can start to understand, what does this process look like? Why should I go through this process? And then how do I get started? So, just a huge thank you again for what I know is going to be an enormous amount of value for people as we start to talk a little bit more and share a little bit more about financial aid. And you just kind of touched on what all of those options are in terms of financial aid and the differences. And I again, think back to my own personal experience, and it was so confusing knowing what's a loan? What do I have to pay back? What is something that is that free money like you were talking about? So Bianca, kind of walk us through that. What are those options? What's the differences? And maybe some of those terms that are scary to us, can you, break those down?
Absolutely. I really do want to give everybody a quick overview of like what these terms are. But if you really want the good stuff, you definitely have to sign up for
Yeah.
for our programming because it's totally going to be worth it. Um, so the Institute for College Access and Success just released their 2019 student debt report, and the average amount of college debt students graduate with in Massachusetts is about $33,256. So, like, not to scare anybody,
Yeah.
but a little bit scare people. So, like, you can understand that, after you graduate college, you want to be able to possibly buy a house, have good credit, whatever it is that you're looking to get into, and having a huge amount of student loan debt lingering over you may make it a little more difficult to attain those goals. So, planning ahead and using like a tool like financial aid, that will definitely help cushion the ease it in a little bit, so you're not taking out so much money. So, financial aid works differently depending on if you're a dependent or an independent student. Also, if you decide to go into school, into higher education right after high school, or maybe you made the decision to possibly work before you decided to go back for your higher education. But no matter where you are in this education process, everyone should fill out financial aid. Financial aid allows you to utilize grants and scholarships, whether it's federal or college-based or state-based. It also gives you, and grants and scholarships, as we will learn, or as some of us know, are free money. And that's the money that you really, really want. And then financial aid also allows you to take out loans. You could go for private loans, but I would always suggest going for a federal or a Stafford direct loan, whether it's an unsubsidized loan or a subsidized loan. And also work study. To find out more about work study, make sure to sign up for our programming.
That's a really important one. And I believe there's a lot of confusion around that too, what the requirements are, how you actually get signed up for that, how you find out more about that. So nice plug.
I do what I can.
That's right. That's right. All right, so let's talk a little further into the details about financial aid. We've kind of hit on, why everybody needs to sign up, why it's really important for people to sign up. One thing we didn't touch on, and maybe I'll take a step back to, are the myths around financial aid and why some would think, this doesn't apply to me. It's not important to me. I'll let Yerlin or Rochelle, maybe one of you can take that and talk about what those myths are and why we need to dispel those myths, because as you've already stated, financial aid is for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. I can take some of that. We hear it all the time. My family makes too much money to be able to qualify for any sort of aid. We are also hear a pretty big one because we've worked a lot with immigrant communities who are not 100% aware of, their status and the country and how that might affect the financial aid process. So we have a lot of students who are, residents of the country and not citizens, and who think that because they're not citizens, they're also not eligible for any type of financial aid. So those are two of the main ones that we hear in terms of I make too much money, or I don't make enough money even, or I am not doing really well in school, so I may not be able to qualify for loans, for financial aid. So, and we always tell people, you're not going to know how much money you're going to be able to receive until you actually apply. And specifically because there are two specific types of financial aid. or how it's categorized every time everyone submits their application. So there is the aspect of need-based. So that covers any student who makes a certain threshold of money, for example. So it may not necessarily, a lot of people that make over that certain threshold may not really see an increase in some of the free money or the need-based money, but there's also the second type of financial aid, which is merit-based. And that has to do with students that have applied themselves really well in school and that have done really well, that can get big ticketed scholarships to be able to go to school. So there is a little bit of everything when it comes to financial aid that almost anybody can and is eligible for as long as they apply. And then same thing when it comes to people who may be citizens versus residents when it comes to their status in the country. Usually almost any citizen and any resident of the United States, regardless of whether you were born here or your parents were born here or not, as long as you do have that status, you do qualify for federal and state aid. I would say too, we do have some students that don't necessarily have a specific status within the country. And for those is a little bit harder, but we always tell those students, hey, if you're in a situation where you don't have a Social Security or access to those resources, it's always good to contact the university that you are looking to go in directly, so that they can let you know what the resources are for students without a Social Security. So that's why I said at the beginning, it's always very important for everybody, almost always, regardless of your particular circumstance, to always apply as much as you can.
Yeah, and Yiming makes a really good point here, based on what you were just talking about, which is most financial aid websites are only in English or limited in Spanish, and that really restricts access and it restricts the understanding of a lot of families who can't get the full and detailed picture. And that is also a really critical aspect of the financial aid course that you're putting together, which is that it's in both English and Spanish. So we've got two different versions, making sure that it's accessible to everybody. And I really think that's such a important thing for us to highlight as we think about allowing anybody to be able to access that information, understand what's available to them without trying to do all of the research on your own. And that's another important piece too, where we brought everything into one location. So we become your number one resource instead of having to do a lot of that heavy lifting, which is, just running around trying to find answers to your questions. And I don't know about all of you, but when I was going through that process, I felt like so much was misinformation, because one website would say one thing and then another website would say another thing. And I felt like I had zero clarity or real understanding. And so that's the beauty of the course too, is that not only is it in both languages, but you get the straight scoop. You get the honest answers that are going to lead you in the right direction. And Yiming made another really important point that, Rochelle, I'd love for you to speak to, which is the aspect within all of this that's so important is the planning and planning ahead. And that's a lot of what we help with as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think sometimes when people ask us about that in person, and this is one of the things that we discussed in the previous Facebook Live about that trust level that we have with our families and our students, because we were kind of like, had in-person workshops and were able to answer a lot of questions and tell them in person. But this is we have translated this into the modules too, where we tell families all the time in person or in the module that it is very important to have a plan. Everybody's financial aid is going to look a little different. So you cannot really say, because my friend received this much money in scholarship, then I think that my family is also going to receive that much, and that may be too much or too little for my family. You won't know until you do it. But then for families who still have a few years to go, there are different kinds of tools available for you to kind of like start to build that plan based off of, okay, so if I go into, for example, there are net price calculators that a lot of colleges and universities do offer, and we do talk about them. So this is one of the tools that we refer to in a lot of our workshops and a lot of our modules for anybody who is looking to see, okay, well, if I were to apply for financial aid right now, this is kind of like an estimate of how much I would receive. It's not the real thing, but it can actually start to give me an idea so that I can start making a plan in terms of, oh, do I have to save money? Do I have to, which is always, yes, you have to save money. That's like an important thing. But then also, okay, well, then I need to either help myself or help my child if you're working with your children when it comes to this aspect. Make a plan of also applying for outside scholarships because we know that we're going to have this particular gap, or the estimate says that this is the estimated gap that we may have for this college or university. So we go over those tools that can help kind of like make a plan and a path that is very individualized for you and your family.
I love that because I really see that even within the course, the personalization and walking everyone through exactly what an example situation looks like, but then taking them even deeper into that and really helping them figure out how to complete all these forms, helping them figure out what it means to them in terms of their own situation. And I, again, go back to just the mystery about it. I really think you are demystifying the entire process for families and for students that are, no matter where they're at in the process, are going to be able to benefit from this, because you can be 5 years out, you can be, 2 years out, you can be 10 years out. It's never too early to start to plan. It's never too soon to start to think about how you're going to save, what that's going to look like, and really start to put those steps in place. And the sooner the better, because that means you've got a little bit longer runway in order to get there. So yeah, and Yiming makes another great point. She says it's so critical that Rochelle highlighted that every person says different prices at the same school, and the same person also gets a different financial package from a different school. It's complicated, and especially complicated if you're talking to friends or relatives, and everybody has a different story, a different situation. Whereas this financial aid course is going to give you a very straight, very clear path on how to get through that process. So let's talk now about the actual course and really the benefits. I think we've hit on so many of them already here today. But as we get ready to take so much of what you've been doing over all of these years, this last decade of Inversant, in face-to-face workshops, now taking them into the online world as we're all remote in our remote situations. Share a little bit about the actual course and what people are going to get. What is that experience when they come into the course itself?
Well, the course itself is amazing. We have this amazing team of either in front of cameras and behind the cameras that it has been working very hard to put all this together, and I can't wait until it's all done. So the course itself, before I answer your question, I would like to say something. I would like to say that learning about financial aid is critical to enable all individuals, regardless of their financial means. This is something that families should keep in mind at all times. And why? Because in that way, they will have better access to higher education. So that's our mission. That's Inversant's mission. Now, in regards to our modules, our financial aid course, we walk families through all this process from beginning to end so they can understand the process and understand what is it to how can they help their children to walk them through this process. So families will learn about how financial aid helps pay for college. This is one of many questions that family ask. Excuse me. When their children go to college, like how financial aid is going to help me pay for college? You have to sign up in this module, so you will learn details on how this will benefit you and your family. You will learn about important deadlines, the type of financial aid. Do you know that there's financial aid, free financial aid, and financial aid that has to be returned? Well, those are types of financial aid that will be explained in details in these modules. Also, how it really works, this financial aid. And I love giving this example. When someone, those who have the experience of buying a car or a home, what is the process that we go through it? We visit different dealerships if we are going to buy a car. Why do we do this? It's not because we have a lot of time in our hands. It's because we're trying to find the best deal. And that's exactly what we're going to do with the financial aid process. We're going to learn what school, what college is going to give us the best option for our children, for our family, which bank is going to give us the best interest rate, which one has the lowest or the highest rate. So we're going to choose based on that information that we'll be gathering in this process, and we help families to go through this. Do we know, like we help families understand the financial aid and their differences. There's not just one size fits all. There's more than one type of financial aid. And I'm talking about loans, their gifts, their work study, and families will be able to understand which one, again, will fit their families. Not all work study works for all students. Not all families need to get loans. Some families, they just are blessed to get 100% scholarships. So this is the process that we help families go through. Another big questions that some families have asked is there free money? And I'm going to tell you that right now. Yes, there's free money, but you have to log into our modules, and it will let you know how to get free money for college. And last but not least, now there are also steps for how to get financial aid. So please, you have to remember that our modules are available online, and you can easily access from home, from the comfort of your home, anywhere, anytime. And you can use any electronic device. You can use a mobile device. You can use an iPhone, an iPad, a computer, a PC, a desktop, laptop, anything. So our courses are available for any platform. Another important topic is for you to know is our courses are free. You don't have to pay to get access to our module. It's free, and also they are bilingual. We have all our modules, like we have been talking since the beginning of this conversation. Our modules are fully bilingual in English and Spanish for all families, since particularly because we all know that language can be a barrier for families, and in a way block them to get all this important information. So families have access to this anytime, anywhere, and in their own language. And also, we provide support to the family. Family need to know this. Even though when they finish the modules, you're welcome to get in touch with us again. The fact that you finish all the modules, and that doesn't mean that you're finishing the partnership with us. This is why we're here. You complete the modules, and then I'm pretty sure a lot of families that which I have come across with, they ask questions, because this is gonna open up your mind, and it's gonna brighten a little bit more understanding of what is it to what is involved in the financial aid process. Now, last but not least, we also prepare small incentives to reward early completions. What that means is if you complete your modules earlier, and we already plan to give you some incentives, but I'm gonna leave you with Rochelle. She will be happy to share with you what am I talking about.
Sounds good. Thank you. Yeah, so I think that there's a lot of information, like your link mentioned, that we're going to be able to provide. And I mentioned this too in our previous live that we just did, and I'm sure that everybody has watched. The fact that Inversant is very well known for incentives, because we want to make sure that we reward families' efforts and times, or student effort and time. Before I go into the specifics of what those incentives are going to look like, one plug that I want to put in there too, when it comes to this module, is that a lot of times financial aid, or not a lot of times, but for the most part, if you are a senior in high school or an independent student looking to apply for financial aid for the next semester, or within from 6 months to a year of your planning process, that's when you go and apply and use tools like the FAFSA and other applications to be able to apply for financial aid. But I always say that it's never too, I think Bianca mentioned it before too, it's never too early to start learning about this process, because what ends up happening is that we want to make sure that every single person that goes into this process gets into that final 6 months or final year of preparation for their academics and everything else when it comes to getting accepted into a school, feeling okay with the package that they're going to be receiving, feeling okay with the documentations that they're going to need to, that they're going to need to submit for this, to be able to plan ahead in terms of getting your finances ready, because it is a very overwhelming process that needs a lot of documentation from the student and from the families that the student comes from sometimes. So we just want to make sure that everybody knows, whether you are someone who's about to apply for financial aid because you're going to college in 6 months, or someone who it's just starting the process of learning for themselves or for their kids, and it's a ways out. We have a little bit for you in these modules for financial aid, because it is never too early. And in the sense of also saving and using some of these tools that can help you calculate estimated, aids that you may receive and aid that you may not receive, that can help you start thinking of, like I mentioned before, the planning of like, okay, maybe then I should start saving right now. I still have a few more years before I start the process, but I'm going to use those few more years so that I can prepare with the savings and getting everything in check. So do you want me to talk about the incentives now, Rebecca, or are there any other questions that we may have?
Definitely.
Sure. Sounds good.
Definitely go for it.
Perfect. So when it comes to our incentives, and anybody who may be watching from previous workshops that we've hosted, we love gift cards. So one of the things that we're going to be doing after this Facebook Live event, you're going to start seeing communication around our enrollment process. There's going to be a link that is actually up right now in our website where you can put your contact information so that we know, okay, you're interested in these modules, you're interested in these program components. So what we're going to be offering for the first 50 people that do early enrollment, so you'll know, as soon as we have the links up, as soon as you click on it, you're going to sign up, hit complete in signing up. The first 50 people that do that are going to receive a $20 Amazon gift card. And then in addition to that, for the first 100 people that actually not only sign up for the module, financial aid module specifically, but go through the entire process and actually complete it, you're going to receive $25. So that is, ways that we can incentivize families, ways to tell you we want you to be able to take these modules, and we want to reward you not only with the information, but also resources that can help you start building that aspect of like, okay, I'm earning money, I am receiving benefits, I'm receiving information, but I'm also making a plan on how can I also contribute financially to this process.
Awesome. Yay. And we dropped that link that you were just talking about where people can sign up right into the comments here on this post. So make sure, click on that. You'll get a lot more information as well. But as Rochelle said, you can get yourself signed up, get yourself on our VIP list. So as soon as we are ready to roll this out and bring this to you live, you will be the first to know, and you don't want to miss getting in on those bonuses as well. Super, super important. And if you can't hear, my dogs have decided to go a little crazy. It's funny, we're all working from home, and my husband ran out just as I was getting ready to go on this live to go vote. Yay, voting. Boo that he's not here. And apparently the mailman came, somebody treacherous, I'm sure. And they've decided to go into just a barking fit. So apologies for the background noise, but that's our life these days, right?
He's part of the conversation.
What's that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right. Yes, they were both feeling a little left out and decided they needed to get in on what we were talking about. So, Bianca, final words. Anything that you'd like to say?
I think that just to kind of piggyback on a little bit that everybody had said in this, beyond just learning about the different kinds of financial aid and beyond any of our module talk, I think it's really important to really stress that idea of creating a plan ahead of time, despite where you are in the educational process. The financial aid is a piece of that plan. Most likely it won't be a situation where all of your college is covered. So being able to create a plan ahead of time and think of different ways how to fill that gap that's realistic to you or your family, I think is super important. And I think through our modules, we're able to convey that. Also, being able to have office hours, which we will be having attached with our modules, being able to talk to either Rochelle or me or your Lynn, kind of about what your different unique situations are. Because sometimes it can get dicey. It won't be just like a straightforward, let me fill out FAFSA, which you should do right now, because the first come, first serve basis, and they open in October. So it's super important that you fill out FAFSA right now. But yeah, you can come and ask us any kind of questions, and it's super confidential, and it's just between us, and we'll be able to help assist you in any way possible.
Awesome. Yeah. And I just some additional final words from Ming. College is a big investment, so don't wait till after you're accepted to start thinking about how to pay for it. Yes, absolutely. And that's what all of you are here for. You are here to help people plan, to help people save, to help people understand what all of these options are in terms of financial aid. So thank you to everybody that joined us here live today. Everybody that's catching the replay, make sure you get yourself signed up, that you can take advantage of those bonuses, not only on the front end, but on the back end as well. And to all of you, Rochelle, Bianca, Yerlyn, thank you so much for being here today, sharing so much of your expertise, your knowledge, and giving us so much of that in all that you do. So really appreciate all of you and just your time today. So to everybody else, thank you. Take care. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Rebecca.